Welcome back to another down back cornhole podcast. Easy for me to say. As you can see, we've got a great guest. Oh, I did point the right way side on that side. But first, as you may have seen from the video the other day, new bag sponsor, local bags. Your chance to get a hold of these here, local warriors. All you got to do is subscribe to the show. I think we're about 20 subscribers short of the 400 here on YouTube. So just you can hit the subscribe there and then just listen on the audio side if you don't want to look at this. That's all you have to do. But as I said, a great guest with us here, Cornhole Meesh. As you may know, Michelle Thompson, formerly with Girls Throw 2. I almost said Canada because that's another show, but it's just formerly Girls Throw 2. And now on that other small show that she has with on the ACL, there's Anthony Ione and that other guy. I can't think of his name right
Some
now.
guy.
Some other guy. I think his name was like Trey or something. I don't know.
He's
Some guy
okay.
who thinks he can play cornhole sometimes. Although he should be retired, but I keep seeing he's still playing, so I don't know. How you doing, Michelle?
I'm good. And I have beat Trey, so just throwing that out there.
Just it's another person on the list that's way better than I am. That's all that is.
Oh man, good stuff.
So how's things going with you? I know we're kind of in the swing of starting a new season, getting ready for. I think we've already had one open, and there's a couple more kind of off here. We're waiting to find ACL to announce when they're going to have the ones up here in Canada, but I'm hearing that could be close. But yeah, season full swing already. It's just it's that 1 month break that we get that it's just crazy.
Yeah, luckily for me, I get a little bit of a longer break until I have to start traveling again. Since I'll be in Myrtle Beach for the first shootout, but I haven't had to travel since Spencer's, so it's been a nice little break. I am losing my voice. I apologize for the way it sounds.
Well, almost everyone has that losing the voice around because it's in that kind of season here, but whatever.
Yeah.
So kind of background in cornhole for some of the people up here in Canada that may not know you. Like I said, you did come from the Girls Throw 2 program.
Yeah, so Girls Throw 2, we started that back in April, Whitney and I. And then I decided to go off on my own thing in about August, just right after Worlds. But it was a really fun venture. It's something I'm super proud to have helped build and been a part of. And I think it's an amazing platform for women. And I'm excited that it's still out there and doing its thing and supporting women.
Well, exactly. And I've had a bunch on the show here with like Christine Pappy's been on a couple times, Maya Cup, Sam Finley, and just everyone like the female pros out there. I wish they were able to get on to more shows and be able to talk because I even talked with like Miranda Coy, Lori Duell when they were up here at the Open here, and there's so much knowledge with them, and it's just I think it's something that needs to be more. They need to be on more other shows, talking to the other podcasts that they're watching. Get them on the shows to be talking to because that is the fastest growing part of the sport.
Absolutely, yeah, and I do. We're still. I have a Facebook group just for female cornhole players, and I just use that just to deliver content specifically geared towards women. And so that's something I love to do as well. And I just do that so that these women can start to rise to the top because there's no physical difference, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of getting the confidence up because it is male dominated.
Exactly, and for up here within our KW league up here, I think probably about I'm going to say 60% of our new players coming out of COVID were probably female players, which I think is just amazing for us up here. So it's it's that growing part, and we're finally getting women's divisions up here in tournaments, which is instead of having like 4 players, we're now getting the 15, 20. So it's being able to kind of get that on the rise.
That's awesome. I love to hear that.
Exactly. So we've talked about that there. The other thing that I've seen you talking a lot about, and I know it's a big part of like what I like talking about is just that mental side of the game. And I see your quotes, your questions you put out there all the time, and I think that's the mental side is what I'm lacking. But maybe it's just not with cornhole. But it's the whole game is because you have the people that come in and think, oh, it's just I'm just gonna throw bags.
Yeah.
Right. But then the whole mental side comes in when you've got to throw them for like 8-10 hours in a row in a day.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part to them.
Yeah. And not to mention like make a shot to not lose thousands of dollars or not miss an ESPN broadcast. I mean, that kind of pressure is a huge part of this game. And the other reason why it's a mental game is because unlike other sports, you have time. So it's
Mhm.
not a reactionary sport like football, basketball, where there's no time to think. You're just responding and reacting to what's happening around you. But in cornhole, you have time, and time is your enemy because it makes you have time to think. And unless you've trained your brain, it's probably not going to think thoughts that are very helpful. So
Yeah.
we have to actually spend time noticing what is our mind telling us, especially in those moments when we miss a bag, when there's all the pressure, when the lights are on, when there's a crowd, when the camera's on, when our partner is looking at us with that look like, if you miss this bag, I'm going to kill you. So, so like all of that, that's so much. So we do actually have to train our mental side just in general, like let alone the sport of cornhole, but just in general. But you're going to see it all come to the front, kind of like when you become a parent and all your stuff that you were like, I'm not going to deal with that. And then your child's born and then it's all in your face. You're like, I guess I'm dealing with this.
Well,
Here it
exactly.
is. And same with entrepreneurship. When I started my first business, I was 23 and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was just like, this sounds fun. I don't like to work for people. And then it was like, as soon as I went into business for myself, all this, like the self-doubt, the limiting beliefs, like all this stuff like flew in front of me. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that was all coming.
Well, yeah, and just kind of getting back with the mental side of it, they talk about football and icing the kicker, right?
Yeah.
Where I think in cornhole now we went from the 20 seconds down to the 12 seconds, I think it is. But you miss a shot, that other player, if he wants to, can kind of ice you after every one of those shots because they can, they might be in that rhythm of just throwing, throwing, throwing. You miss a shot, then they can take a step back and kind of collect themselves while
Right.
you're taking that extra time thinking, well, for me, it's why did I throw that short bag again? But
Yeah.
it's that's the other whole mental side of this.
Absolutely. And I think that what people don't understand is that you can't figure that out in the game. Like, so
Mhm.
even if you notice, like, wow, my thoughts are, I'm thinking I suck and that's not helpful, you can't deal with it right then and there. It's too late. That stuff all has to be trained before you even get on the court. And a lot of people put a lot of time into practicing their reps. And I think that's important because you got to get the automatic processes from your body. You got to be shooting automatically without thinking. But you also have to train your brain and you have to put time into practicing that just as much as you are practicing your mechanics.
Well, for sure. And then the other part of it is now that almost every tournament you're seeing they're doing live feeds from the tournament.
Yeah.
And then even with we get some of the bigger tournaments of the ACL, you're on ESPN, you're doing this other stuff. I think that adds a whole other element into the thing of you now have more people watching you. So I'm thinking, because even for myself, when I do deck rounds, I can throw deck rounds like crazy. I put that cell phone on behind me to do it, and I'm throwing 23s, and I'm like, how can I go from throwing like 70s to now 23s? But it's that you don't think of it, but you've got that little more pressure of knowing people are watching you. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking that is almost the perfect practice. So you see people going and doing it on their Facebook feeds or whatever. But I think that's a thing that a mental side that people can practice with.
Yeah, practicing under pressure is the single most important thing cornhole players can do. It's actually the biggest component of the cornhole boot camp that Ryan Smith and I put together. We had our boot campers increasing pressure every week with things like recording and going live and things like that. And then I would give them things to even increase the pressure even more on the mental side. So they'd be having it from kind of both the mechanics and the mind. But there's research that shows that even though you can't simulate an ESPN broadcast court at your house, right?
Mhm.
Just practicing under any kind of pressure repetitively will set you up for more success in those really high pressure. And I had one of my boot campers posted like, man, I really sucked when I turned the camera on. And I said, it's not about performing equally in your practice sessions. It's about getting the reps of practicing under pressure.
Mhm.
Just noticing what are the thoughts? What do I do with those thoughts? How do I feel? How's my breathing change? How's my grip change? What's my body doing? Is it tense? Like the practice is just to notice all that, not to necessarily throw your best.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned Ryan Smith, and that just brings that back more nightmares for me because, like I always say, if I would have had 21 more points, I could have had a chance of beating him.
Just 21, no big deal.
But he is another guy that and when he's been on the show is that he gets that mental side as well because and we often wonder where all these pros are coming from, but you see all of them that have all did like a high level of sport in their past, whether it be Christine Papke being the marathon runner that she was, and so she's already got that mental preparation in her head. Ryan being the college football player, and kind of Stephen Bernasette with him. He was a high level football player as well. So that's that whole mind training where that other sport kind of helps out in cornhole. You don't think it will, but it does.
Yeah, I talked to Ryan a lot about that when we were putting our boot camp together. I was like, can you sort of think about the things you did at football practice? What are some of the techniques you were taught by your coaches in these other sports that we can bring into this sport that, because Ryan focuses on his health, right? He doesn't just, so he really treats this like a sport. And that's why I was excited to partner with him on that project, because he really gets it from all angles, not just stepping up and throwing bags, but all the aspects of what it means to be a professional athlete.
Yeah, and you tell me that with the whole health thing with that is then you see some people who are trying to to make this, like, I don't want to say a legitimate sport because I think we are, but
yeah,
with the health side of it and the training out there, then you get the other people that say, you know what, how I deal with the mental side is just I just drink more, and then that helps on my mental side, which then that can also be a deterrent as well.
And I just don't see it lasting. I feel like the direction the sport is going, I can't imagine alcohol will be a part of it forever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going away anytime soon, but I just feel like eventually it will go. And so if that's your only way to deal with it, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Starting to practice other tech. The reason why alcohol works so well is because it shuts down the brain, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, but the disadvantage of that is you could shut down the brain by becoming really mindful of what's happening or by going numb. Obviously, any kind of substance is going to cause numbness, which same outcome, right?
Yeah.
But at a big cost. And the beautiful thing about learning mindfulness is that you get the same outcome of being able to master your mind and not have to worry about crazy thoughts happening, but you're actually present, which is going to be a massive advantage, not just in cornhole, but in life. So it's a big piece of what I teach is mindfulness. And when my boot campers, for example, started the program, I gave them a mindfulness assessment to start to see where they were at. And the cool thing is, a lot of people were upset because they failed, right? Because they got like low percentage on that questionnaire. But we just got back a lot of the 30-day results. And I had someone that went from a 9% to a 91% in 30 days on that mindfulness questionnaire. So you can learn to become more mindful and create the same outcome and not use alcohol. Now, I love alcohol. I'm not saying get rid of alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's a time and a place. And if we want this sport to continue to grow, I don't see how that can continue to grow with it.
Well, exactly, and that's a great thing to talk with you about this, because there was a tournament I was at maybe a couple of months ago here where I really thought about bringing you, because I always thought about having you on the show to talk about this. But I was asked, I was like, have you ever done a show on meditation for helping your cornhole game? Right, because there was a husband and wife there. She doesn't play, but she was kind of there to support him, and she helped him with meditating before he played, and he was like, it's really helped my game. But it's those small little quirky things that I don't want to say really quirky, but just those small little tweaks that you can put in your game. Because for hockey, I'm a goalie, so I'm already quirky anyway. But it's just those little, I don't want to say superstitions, or just kind of little things you put in that can really change your game.
Yeah, and I've been meditating for years and years, and so it's fun to watch this group like just kind of dabble in it. It was a big component of my program, and I had a lot of people say how much the meditation helped them. I record some meditations for them that are specific to cornhole, and then I gave them other meditations that are more general to do like on a daily basis. But I recorded one specifically that you listen to right before you practice or play, that talks about how to let the body do the work, right? Trust the body. Assuming you have mechanics, like it's a really tricky situation, because if you're just starting out and you don't have your throwdown, then we're not in the automatic part of your game yet. And so that's like a different conversation, right? We can't really focus on the mental side if you don't have your throwdown. But assuming that you've got your throw pretty much down, then at that point you have to let go of trying to think or do, and you have to just let the body do the work. It has to be automatic. And so if you want it to be automatic, it means your brain has to step out of it. It's always going to get in the way.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, well, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. And I hope I don't miss this bag, and arm, you better do this, and body. And that's when you get into trouble. So letting the body do what it needs to do automatically. Well, that's what meditation does, because it drops you into the body. So a big part of that is trusting, and then being present, and then just feeling the physical sensations of the body and being there instead of all up in here, all buzzy and
Oh yeah.
crazy in your head.
Well, exactly. I mean, you don't really think of it, but then you start thinking about that. You could be having a great end, and and then it gets to the end, and then your partner at the other end says, "Just board it for the win."
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about just boarding it for the win, and I'm not thinking, maybe just a slide shot.
Right.
Tell me to make a slide shot for the win, and I'll just board it. But
Right.
then all of a sudden there's that much more pressure on yourself. You're thinking, oh, I just have to board it, and then you just completely mess it up.
Yeah, happens. We call that choking,
Yeah.
right? So, and why we choke is because the brain is getting in the way because the body already knows how to do it, assuming, like I said, you've got the game down at least, if you're like a competitive player, let's say that.
Yeah.
So if you're intermediate, maybe this doesn't apply to you yet, but if you're competitive enough, then you are in this category of where you need to just let the body do its thing. And even if you're like, my throw's not perfect, during gameplay is not the time to figure it out. So you got to just trust whatever you have
Mhm.
and be like, I can work on this later. But today, going into this tournament, I have to trust this throw that I have. I cannot try to tweak it or think about it or remind myself what I'm doing because it's too late for that at this point in the tournament. And so, yeah, you have to really just say, my body already knows how to board a bag, like done it like thousands and thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
times. So I just need to step out of it and let my arm do the work because it already
Mhm.
knows how.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that
We all are, right? That's the journey.
all the time. But yeah, and then I think we could probably talk a couple hours of this whole mental side because
Yeah.
it's I don't know. I like I say that's what I love getting into because cornhole is not just a backyard sport anymore. There's the whole other dynamic to the game that I like, as I was told by another player, just you're either playing checkers or chess. It's
Yeah.
and that chess game is the mental game. The checkers is just I'm gonna say the drinking game of just throwing the bag is the
Yeah.
checkers. That chess game is what really gets me thrilled about this game.
Same. Yeah. I find that to be the exciting part. I also love personal development and growth. And so anywhere I can apply that in any way is exciting for me. And it shows you where your weaknesses and strengths are, right? You're like, okay, I have a hard time being present when there's a lot of pressure. Like it's good to know those things.
Yeah. But then as you've now started helping out with live feeds, and I've done live feeds up here, those little mental breaks that people have make the games more interesting when we're calling them. So it's
Yeah, that's for
we
sure.
can tell people to fix them, but then maybe not all the time when we're doing live feeds, when we're commentating, because it makes
Well,
it better.
there's always the cornhole gods, right?
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
cornhole gods. They exist, right? And
Oh,
sometimes they make your bag do things that don't make sense, whether it's a perfect throw and it bounces off, or it's not a perfect throw and it
yeah.
bounces off someone's bag in like a ping pong ball and goes in the hole and it shouldn't have. Like there's
Yeah.
cornhole gods that have decided, I guess, who's going to win that day and throw some luck that direction. Like we have to just know that there's bigger things at play that aren't just that. It's not all in our control.
Well,
You can
exactly.
only do
Yeah.
so much.
And switching to the other side that we've also talked about is your marketing side, which is kind of maybe that is a little bit of a mental thing as well too. I'm not sure. It can be, but and we talked off air that for anyone looking for a sponsor, that CEO is not your friend on Facebook. When you're posting on Facebook, I
I
need
mean, if they
sponsors.
are, like, you're a pretty cool person.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. They're not going to be friends with that competitive player trying to get better.
Yeah.
But and we'd also talked off here. I went into kind of extensively with Eric Charney before. Is that you need to actually go and promote yourself, not just, and also that making 18,000 Facebook posts about whatever isn't going to get you noticed either. You have to put almost like a little package together, a video portfolio, whatever, to give to people to get that sponsorship. You're looking to market yourself.
Yeah, I think people forget that when it comes to sponsoring, I guess I kind of put it in two different categories. Like you've got the small companies that want brand awareness, right? And they're gonna have a lot less money to give, but they're probably going to be a lot more motivated because maybe they're a brand that nobody in cornhole knows about. So just talking about that brand is going to give them a lot of exposure, right?
Mhm.
And that's going to be, like I said, a smaller pocket, for them to give out, but a little bit easier of a sell. And then you've got the bigger brands that are looking that you have to think about where their marketing dollars are going. Like, what are they deciding between, right? They're deciding between things like, Facebook ads and TV ads and radio ads and billboards and things like that. And you, right? So
Mhm.
you have to remember that that's all the things they're considering. They're like, all right, do we want to put this money here or here? Because we have advertising money, we have a marketing budget. What do we think is going to give us the most return? So when you're pitching yourself, you better tell them how you're going to give them money back, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing that I see a lot of these players doing is saying, like, you're going to be on my jersey and you're going to get social media support. Well, that's not very specific, right? If I was trying to get sponsors, I would say, you're going to get, 4 posts a month plus 1 video. I would be very specific on what my social, like, in fact, I would be studying influencers. I'd be studying influencer pitches. I'd be looking at what do influencers give potential sponsors when they want to get them, because that's the angle. If you're an influencer, you've either got a following and you're like, here's my following, it's huge, all I have to do is post this one thing and you're going to get tons of sales.
Mhm.
Or if they don't have a big following, they're going to be at a huge disadvantage, and they better freaking sell their personality or talent, right? They better be
Yeah.
like, I don't have the followers yet, but man, I will hustle and I will get that. I will push it. I will push it everywhere I can. Here's how many posts you're going to get. Here's how many email blasts you're going to get. Here's if you don't have the followers, then you got to sell the other. And for the elite cornhole players, it's way easier because they're like, I've already been on ESPN this many times. There's not a whole lot of selling that has to happen there,
Yeah.
other than just explaining what this sport is and where it's at, which the ACL gives professionals to use, like the slide deck. But if you're kind of in the in-between, you don't have the big following and you don't have the elite status, you got to sell your social media potential, right? That's what you
Yeah.
have to do. And you have to be
Exactly.
specific.
And then you see, and you're kind of seeing all these posts about people. I can go back to Facebook posts, but you see posts with people saying, you're going to be seen on ESPN or whatever, and you look at them and like, I haven't seen you on ESPN yet, unless you're standing in the background watching,
And that's
right?
still not even, I don't think, as big of a advantage than I'm going to regularly push your brand and tell
Yeah.
people to buy your stuff. Like, going on ESPN, and that's great. That's great for brand awareness. But unless you win and you come to the mic and say, I just want to thank,
Yeah.
Local Bags, who makes the best carpet bag or
Yeah.
whatever, unless you give a pitch on
Yeah.
TV, it's not the biggest value add, which I think is kind of the misconception. It's what you can do to bring sales to the company, and you have to think about, how do I bring sales to a company?
Yeah. And the other thing I talked about before with some other people was that you have to almost take the NASCAR model into it, where you got your logos on it, but you have to be, in order for people to really see those logos, you're going to have to be on TV. You're going to have to be interviewed someplace,
Yep.
and then to really have that list of, I've got like these 20 people that are my sponsor, that you're going to list off when you're on TV, or else that just saying ESPN isn't going to really get you anything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then knowing your value, yes, all these big names are getting these, you're hearing the 5-6 figure numbers, but not everyone's going to get those when you first start out. You'll be lucky if some people are lucky if they get the 3-digit number as a
Agreed.
figure.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think that the way that you can create a bigger number there is by showing value, once again, social media. And you don't have to, like, you got to be masterful at one. You got to pick one and you got to master it. It doesn't matter which one. Just pick one. Don't try to be on all of them. Whatever one feels the most natural place for you to hang out, I would just work on building a following. And before you even go to these sponsors, I would be doing everything I can. I mean, if I was like really good at cornhole, I'm a competitive player. I am not. That's why I brought Ryan onto the boot camp, right? Like, I am not
Yeah.
the expert on cornhole. Just I have a psychology 2 degrees. But if I was a super good cornhole player, I would be doing raffles all the time to get free coaching sessions with me. I'd be like, hey, everyone, like, share, subscribe. I'm going to pick one winner every week for the next 90 days, whatever it takes to get a massive following so that I can go to these sponsors and be like, hey, I've got 50,000 followers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much you could do as a cornhole player. To the cornhole audience loves freaking cornhole. So
Yeah.
anything you give them, they will take, and they will jump through hoops to get it. So I would be using all those kinds of techniques to build my following. It's way more attractive when you go over these sponsors and you got a massive following.
Yeah, and that just leads back to starting off is that these people are not going to be your friends on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever. You
No,
gotta.
honestly, I think
It's
you got to go to LinkedIn. If it were me, I'd be on LinkedIn because you can search by job title. I'd be searching marketing managers and any title surrounding that on LinkedIn, and you could pick an area. You could say like marketing managers in Northern California, for example, and I would just be cold messaging them. But you better have your pitch ready. You know, when
yeah,
when I would pitch myself for news segments, sometimes I'd pitch a producer 6, 7, 8 times before they'd even
well,
read my email.
yeah. I was
And
I
I
was
just
just
kept
gonna say that
sending it.
it's not gonna be your first email. You're gonna have to keep
No,
going. Even if you have to bug them every day, you got to
it
keep.
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I just keep sending it. And
yeah,
then eventually they respond and be like, I like this. Let's set up your interview. And I'm like, cool. Like, and I don't care that I emailed them 10 other times. They didn't even
yeah,
read those. It
yeah.
doesn't matter.
Exactly.
There's one line they finally were like, huh, that's interesting. And that's, you know what I mean? So you can't be worried about bothering people because, especially at the high, like top level execs, like they're not reading it, they're deleting it. So unless it like, you know, really grabs their attention, then they're not even going to read it anyway. So you're not bothering them.
Exactly, because I've heard so many people say, "Oh, I emailed this person a couple months ago. They never got back to me." Well, then what did you do to try and show them that you actually want them? They're all they see is one email. They didn't see someone who really wants to be with their product or show off their product with whatever. You've got to really show them you want to do it.
Or start promoting them.
Yeah,
Start actually promoting their products and services and tag them and be like, hey, I love this product and service. And then yeah, that's going to get their attention. And if you're looking at who to even contact, one of the ways that I would recommend is going into your bank statement and just start looking at all the companies you already use
hmm
and just start approaching. You already like their products and services. You're already using them. It's very easy and natural to be able to start just saying like, here's my promo code or whatever. But you know, that's a good starting place. And you can go on to LinkedIn and like look up the marketing whatever for that company. It's all there.
exactly. Yeah, and it's and that thing is that we want to say it's easy just to look up. It still is hard, but it's not that difficult to really just go and look up people to start sending stuff out. It takes nothing, and it doesn't really cost you anything to send out an email or whatever. If you're gonna make a portfolio, it may cost you a bit, but still,
Yeah,
it's just
true.
emailing someone doesn't cost you anything. You're sending emails, so you're not doing a face-to-face thing and thinking it's gonna be
Don't take it
embarrassing. Just
personal. Don't take it
yeah,
personal when they don't respond. Like every time I don't get a response when I was doing media pitches, I'm like, okay, that one didn't work. Let's try another one. Okay, that one didn't work. Let's try another. Like it was never personal. I didn't care.
yeah.
It's just all right. Let's tweak it. That one wasn't very enticing, so we'll go with the next one.
Well, we've scratched the surface on both the mental side and the marketing side. I know your voice isn't the best. Well, we'll have you back on again to talk again because maybe now my voice is going. But
Oh
we can talk
no.
about that. We can talk about that. Maybe we'll share some stories of that other guy, that third guy on that other show you do, Anthony
That guy's right. He's all right.
Anthony and the other guy. Yeah, but yeah, talking about sponsors and marketing. You're going to want to go to Local Bags and make sure you're sharing and subscribing to this show on YouTube here to get your chance at a set of local bag. These local warriors in my hand with the pro finish. Almost they feel broken in already. And then head over to jccornhole.com. Jamie's finally getting me a set of boards. Talk about people that you actually use. I've only had to bug him for 3 years to get my boards back. But yeah, over to jccornhole.com. Tell Jamie no code yet for a discount. Hopefully soon. Like it's been 3 years. Telling Jamie. And then the other one, probably one of my favorite ones, if you're in the Edmonton, Alberta area, sierrahome.com. Contact Darren to get your home inspected, and a portion of what you pay to get your home inspected goes to a children's hospice in the Edmonton area for cancer patients, which I think Darren does an amazing job of that there. So, with that being said, check out Meesh on her shows, and we will put a link down below to the boot camp and some of the other stuff that she does online. So, Meesh, thanks for doing this. I know you're under the weather, but thanks
No worries.
for coming on to do this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's fun.
Okay, and for everyone else, we will see you on either all the other Instagram. I'm back on TikTok again, finally after like a year absence, and then Twitter and all the other stuff. And marketing, if you want to sponsor, I'll send you an email.
There you go.